Hi everybody, my name is Mike and welcome to my workshop. My friend Anne had asked about how to go about covering a styrofoam ball with a little bit of felt to get a nice kind of texture for her hand puppets. But instead of trying to find all the documentation somewhere deep in my books in my file somewhere, I'm just going to show you how I do it. So it'll probably be easier, and hopefully Anne and everybody else can find it, maybe give it a try and find it useful. So here we go. First thing you need, obviously, the styrofoam ball. This is a 4-inch ball, 4-inch in diameter, and I've got a nice big sheet of scrap felt here, and just to go about it. You can use the 8x10 square pre-cut felt sheets if you'd like to, but sometimes if you're going to use anything much larger than the 4-inch ball, it's not going to be enough fabric to cover it. So if you want to buy felt off the the Joann's or the fabric store bolt, do that please. It'll be much easier, and I'll show you how. Hang on. Now, you're not going to need much more than, obviously, like I said, the 4-inch styrofoam ball, nice big piece of felt. You're also going to need a little bit of spray adhesive. It's the best way to do it, and a really good pair of scissors. I've got these. They're all surgical scissors, but I also highly recommend, if you've got them, a nice pair of fabric scissors. Anyway, first things first, you don't need quite this much to cover the ball. So what I normally do is I will kind of measure a little bit, kind of roll it over, and leave, so you can see this, roll it over, and mark it so it's about an inch, inch and a half longer all the way around, just so you get a rough idea of how it will go around. Now, that much, there's my mark right there. So what we do is we then make a nice big triangle, and what this will do is give me the square I'm going to need to cut out. So what you want to end up with is a big square of fabric that will be just a little bit longer than all the way around in both directions. Okay? Yeah. So, like I said, there's no sense in trying to pattern this because it will be different for every ball, but it works. Now, what you want to do then is put the ball in the middle. Felt is wonderful because it does stretch a little bit, and if you can notice, you can start getting, it will curve just a hair. So you want to take advantage of that stretch by doing just that. Before you put any glue on there, give it a pull in 4 directions. You can already see it's starting to round out nicely around the styrofoam ball. And you want to do this in at least 4 directions, if not more. So this way, you're going to get at least one nice big flat surface, and then as few wrinkles as possible. I'm going to open up this way and give it a pull this way. And again, just trying to stretch that out a little bit so that you get an idea. Now what's going to happen is you're going to wind up with a ball that's got these wonderful funky fins on there, like that. Okay? But you can see that you've got a lot of nice smooth surface. These fins will be cut off later and become almost imperceptible seams, but I'm going to show you that in a second. Hang on. When you take the ball out, you'll notice you've got a bit of an indentation. That's good. That's exactly what you want. Then, what you want to do, spray adhesive. As much of this, you want to spray as much of this as possible. If you've got rubber gloves, put them on now. Because it's going to get messy and tacky and sticky, and you're going to be fuzzy hands in a minute. So, let me spray this down, and I'll show you the rest here in a second. Now, once you've sprayed this, you want to work fairly quickly, because you don't want the glue to set before you're finished. But do just like you did before, only this time it's going to be a little more permanent. Start stretching and pulling, and like I said, start and keep giving it pinches. But this time what's going to happen is the felt's going to start sticking to itself, and you're starting to start getting those fins like I showed you earlier. You can pull this apart. You can pull the glue apart a little bit if you need to. If it's sticking in places you don't want to, by all means pull it off. It will stay sticky for long enough to get this job done. See, another good example. Right here I've got a lot of wrinkles, so we're going to pull that back off and see if we can get ourselves, a little better lay here of the fabric on the styrofoam. Okay. Once you've got most of this the way you think you're going to want it, with as few wrinkles as possible, and with 4 big fins, now's the time to start trimming away this extra fabric. Now, you don't want to, at least at this point, cut all the way to the styrofoam ball yet. At least that's the way I like to work on it. Simply because I'm not sure about where all these fins are and how it's getting covered. Now, hopefully this gives you a little bit better sense of how this piece of felt is laying on this ball. You can see there's the top, at least the part where we started. We folded and stretched, there to get a nice curve, and then we folded the extra into fins, little flaps, and the glue on the back of the fabric is sticking to each other, sticking to itself to make this make these nice little fins. Now, one thing I like to do at this point is to take popsicle stick, blunt scissors. I got a nice pair of blunt edged scissors there, and make those creases against the sides of those fins as clean as possible. Okay? I'm going to get in there and press that against the styrofoam ball and against the felt as much as possible. This way you get a nice crisp line, nice crisp line right on either side of the fin. Okay, and that way you can start seeing the definition of the ball a lot better. Now on the other side, you can see you've got this nice big flap. You're going to want to do this as well, because this will all come off. This will all get cut off later. So you're going to have this, what essentially is a gigantic H-looking seam. But I'm going to keep going on this, and I'll meet you at the end. Now, you can see what I did. Like I said, you want to make these seams as nice and crisp as possible, as straight as possible, and pinch all of that fabric together so that it's nice and stuck to each other. So here comes the moment of truth. You want to take out a nice, good, sharp pair of scissors. I am going to use these. These are my good, big old gingers. And what you want to do is you want to don't be afraid, put that right on the ball, right on the edge, and cut away those fins. So you wind up with a little bit of a seam. Now, sometimes you don't get close enough to the ball. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, but it is raised up a little bit. So we're going to take a little bit more off. Get as close to that ball as possible. Then what you want to do is, again, with another blunt edge, work that seam back down. And I still have a little bit of an edge right here, so let's see if I can take some of it off. Takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of effort, and it takes a little bit of patience. But once you play with it, the seam almost disappears. Now, on the video, you're going to see that seam pretty clearly because of the bright, harsh lights. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how well the seam disappears. Okay? Let me finish the other ones, and I'll show you the finished product. And there we go. As I said, you can kind of see the big H of seams up and down the side. But, like I said, if you're careful, make sure everything gets nice and sticky, stuck together. It all lays nice and flat. And once you take it away from the lights and the camera, you got a nice ball covered in felt, or any stretchy fabric also works. What also helps here is, see if I've got one real quick, is a toothbrush. If you're worried about seeing the seams too much, take a toothbrush to the seams and kind of comb and brush the felt fibers, and it helps disguise them a little bit. Now, you'll never get rid of the seams completely. That's all there is to it. It's not flocking or it's not perfect, but like I said, it's a nice, easy way to make a puppet head. Like I said, once you get to the bear, you can cut the hole for the neck right at the seam, use it like that, or if you'd rather, sometimes what I do is on the top, there's this perfectly clean surface right here at the top. It's the exact opposite of the H, where that is almost seam-free. You can see the little edges on the side. That becomes the face. Either way, it works. It's a nice way to work, and I hope this helps. And, as promised, I've got fuzzy fingers, sticky hands, but I've got a really nice styrofoam ball covered in felt as cleanly as possible, so that you, from here, it's just decoration. Head, face, hands, body, there you go. And that way, you've got a nice way to disguise a styrofoam ball and make it look fantastic. So, I'm going to show you a picture of Scurvy Sam. He is just this, a styrofoam ball made into a little pirate puppet for a production I helped with called Pirates, out with Don Jordan and his troupe out in Massachusetts. But that's Scurvy Sam, but he is also a simple styrofoam ball with covered felt and a bright red nose and a pirate hat. That's all it is to it. So, Ann, I hope this helps. And anybody else, if you got any questions about this procedure, drop me an email. I'll be happy to talk to you. Hope this helps, gang. Thanks.